I believe that the challenge this country faces today from the United States, as real and serious as it is, should not be another excuse for Liberal failure. Instead, it should be a historic opportunity. That's how we've got to see it. An opportunity to make Canada what it should be. But we will only get there with leadership. That person has been my colleague, he is my friend, and he is the next Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Poilievre.
All right. That's Stephen Harper at a big rally in Edmonton for the Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre. James Mennie is on the line over at the Montreal Gazette. Jim, I thought for a second Harper said he was going to run himself.
Yeah, he sounds pretty enthusiastic.
But
and I heard your very, very excellent interview with our CTV correspondent, Carlton Trail, about Mr. Harper's showing up and how you have to be careful. It's in Edmonton. It's already voting blue. Did they get any extra votes? I am going to go out on a limb that I didn't expect to go out on so soon, but I got to tell you, you know what they say? They ain't over till the fat lady sings. When you're calling Stephen Harper in off the bench, it's over. And I'll take it one step further. I was going to say this in the case of a Liberal victory. Whatever the Reform Party Canadian Alliance coalition that dressed itself up a few years back and called itself the Conservative Party of Canada will continue to bash its head against a Liberal wall, okay, so long as it has that link with Stephen Harper. 10 years ago on this very show, Aaron, I told you that Justin Trudeau did not win the election. Stephen Harper lost it. A lot of it was running a lousy campaign, but it was also because people got fed up of a government that expressed pettiness, vindictiveness, personal attacks. And this is in 2015, long before we were talking about a guy named Trump. But guess what? That was going on in this country. The 2015 general election was a complete repudiation, as far as I'm concerned, of Stephen Harper and his version of conservatism. And we're seeing it keep losing over and over and over again. And I got to tell you, I did a double take yesterday when I saw that Harper showed up at this. This does not bode well for Poilievre's campaign. Maybe his appearance will suddenly galvanize all those voters in Ontario and in Quebec and in BC and in the Atlantic provinces to scorn the Liberals and vote for the Conservatives and get back to that 20-point lead they enjoyed in the distant days before January 20th, before Trump began throwing a spanner into the works. But all that said, this, as far as I'm concerned, this does not bode well for the Conservatives. The fact that Stephen Harper is showing up here and now at this point in the campaign, as far as I'm concerned, is just this side of running up the white flag.
I wonder, though, what you think, because we've had a couple of days now, because we're getting polling every day, showing that the distance between Conservatives and Liberals, I think it's now 5 or 6 points closer, so it's closer than it's been in a while. What do you make of that?
Well, as Mr. Frail mentioned, and I've mentioned in the past on the show, Aaron, we have a lot of that Conservative support is stacked up in that region of the country I call Abskatchatoba, the West, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. It is not manifesting itself in Ontario. It is not manifesting itself in Quebec or in the Atlantic provinces, but Ontario and Quebec, that's where the seats are. It's not a matter of policy. It's a matter of who is scoring points in those jurisdictions. We have seen it before. Is it fair? No. And we've seen elections in the past where the Tories have polled more in the popular vote and still wound up in opposition, even though the Liberals were held to a minority. But the fact is, I'm very sorry. This campaign is not the Conservative campaign. It's not the most brilliantly run that I've seen thus far. I was really thinking perhaps there might be, an ace up their sleeve, that there would be something, a pivot, something that would change the tone, something that would, apart from using the old traditional, let's smear Mark Carney, let's sell ourselves as the best choice for Canadians. What we got last night was a speech, an unexpected speech from Stephen Harper. We'll wait and see next week what the polls have to say, Aaron. But quite frankly, I think if there's going to be any forks in the roads, any sudden turns, they will occur during the English and French language debates. Because quite frankly, as far as I'm concerned, those are the only aces, the only cards the Conservatives have left to play.
By the way, I want you to hear this clip. I don't know if you heard, Yves-François Blanchet is turning into my favorite character right now, which is, I guess, not good for him, but fun for me. He was asked today about Stephen Harper. Right? I want you to hear this. This might be one of the shortest answers I've heard yet.
Yesterday, the Conservatives had a pretty large rally in Edmonton. Thousands of people were there. Stephen Harper, the former Prime Minister, showed up to back Pierre Poilievre. What kind of impact do you think Stephen Harper's presence could have on this election campaign?
He should come in Quebec. He would help us.
That's it. He should come in Quebec. He will help us. Help us what? By attacking Mark Carney?
He's right. No, but he's what he's saying is right now, I hate to say it, Aaron, Mr. Blanchet's main adversary is not the Liberals. They are far, far gone. They're not going to catch up with the Liberals. They are fighting the Conservatives. The Bloc is fighting the Conservatives for second place, behind what I last thought to be a 20-point gap between themselves and the Carney Liberals. So if Stephen Harper shows up and drives the Conservatives' fortunes down in Quebec, at least there's a chance that the Bloc will survive this election. But right now, I got to tell you, I mean, we're talking about the NDP, we're talking about the Greens. Don't be so shy to put the Bloc in there. I think this is make or break for the Bloc as well.
Why would we why do you automatically think that, Harper involving himself in Quebec, as Blanchet alluded to there, would be a positive, not a negative necessarily?
I don't understand.
I mean, a positive for the Bloc, as opposed to, hey, if he comes here, he wakes people in Quebec up to the Conservatives.
Because what he'll do is drive support for the Conservatives even further down in Quebec.
Why?
That people who are because they can't stand Stephen Harper. They can't stand. Every poll is pointing that out quite clearly, Aaron. Okay. That Pierre Poilievre has a snowball's chance in hell of making a breakthrough in Quebec, and he is basically like Aaron O'Toole, like Andrew Scheer, like I guess the next guy they'll bring up, nothing more than yet another clone of Stephen Harper. And until it stops, we are going to keep seeing Liberal governments in this country. And believe me, I don't think that's a good thing. But that said, the entire idea of Conservatives, and I've said on the show, I just feel that I am a small C, politically speaking, a small C Conservative. This Reform Party, Canadian Alliance coalition does not speak for me, and it doesn't speak for a lot of people who have the same views as I. And it'll be interesting to see whether that will survive this election on April 28th.
I only ask that because, we all remember back to when François Legault, of course, tried to endorse a Conservative, right? And we know how that played out. Oh. But I wonder how many people remember that and think, okay, maybe Stephen Harper is not the worst possible thing, at least in Quebec. But I'm going to say you're right. I'm probably, far out on this one. I just wonder, people have short memories.
Well, Steve, don't get me wrong. Quebec politicians owe Stephen Harper a debt of gratitude. He's the guy who created the entire concept of the Quebec nation. Okay, with his panic-stricken motion back in 2006, but here we are, and I'm sure that when you've got friends like Yves-François Blanchet, Monsieur Harper, I don't think you need enemies.
Fair enough. All right, let me get to what I started the show with today, Jim. We haven't talked about this at all. It was a story that broke fairly late on Friday. The city of Montreal, and I said in its infinite wisdom, has decided it'd be a really good idea to put a reserved bus lane on Saint-Urbain, along with a dedicated bike lane, or at least a better one than they have there now, while at the same time, just a small change for people who live on the street, they're going to eliminate 450 parking spaces with no plan to accommodate those people at all. And I'm just curious what you think. Is this just, again, more of?
To be fair, in the initial communique where they announced this, and they tried to sort of pass this through, we're just making Saint-Urbain safer. They don't mention how many they do say they're eliminating parking, but they don't say how many parking spots. But the other thing is that we'll spread those parking spots out into adjoining streets, which of course is absolute rubbish. Listen, I don't know what else I can tell you. If you haven't learned your lesson with Camillien Hud, understand this: Projet Montréal doesn't care what you think, whether you're a cyclist or a driver or whatever. They are going to do what they are going to do. If you don't like it, vote against them in the next election. That's just perfectly what their attitude is. But in the meantime, we are not going to be swayed. We will eliminate all the parking spots we want. We don't care what business has to say. We don't care what business groups have to say. We don't care what residents have to say, okay? We care what our dogma is. It will be done. Our will be done. And if you don't like it, vote us out in November. So this is exactly, am I shocked? Not at all. I'm raising my eyebrows a bit over the cheekiness of it, eliminating 400 parking spots at one go. But all that said, hey, we're Projet Montreal, and we know better than you what's good for Montreal.
Well, to your point, they don't listen to people. They listen to cyclists. Cyclists are the ones who wanted this, and they're getting exactly what they wanted. So let's be fair. That's who they listen to.
Well, okay. Well, but I'll take it one step further. They listen to cyclists in the plateau. Okay? This is exactly, that's their core. I don't think the great, everyone who's got a bike in Montreal is supporting Projet Montreal. Far from it. But the fact is, you've got people who figure, I want to do my training, whether it's on Camille Hood. I want this city to be absolutely bicycle friendly for me, not you, not somebody else, me. And this is exactly what I'm seeing here. We have seen the myth of the popularity of bicycle paths, and they're just crowded in the winter. It's a complete grift. But the fact is, they are duly elected, and we'll see what happens in November. Right. But in the meantime, what they're saying is, we will do whatever the hell we want, okay? And if you don't like it, vote against it.
And I guess we'll take it one step further and say the information session they have planned in May will do absolutely nothing other than tell people this is what we're going to do, and the hell with what you think.
Or they'll listen to what you have to say and then do absolutely nothing.
Yeah, there you go. James Mennie over at the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.